Hello, welcome. Hi everyone. Today we're talking about how to take your Shopify or e-commerce site to the next level. I'd love for you as I talk to put questions in the Q&A and we'll get through my info here and then we'll answer some more specific questions. If you want to put in the chat how long you've been selling online, I think that could be interesting. And maybe a bit about your shop. That'd be fun too. So we are going to have kind of a Black Friday, Cyber Monday twist to this talk where I'm going to go through what we normally do to prepare a website to be a really strong sales tool, but also talk about some little twists and different things that you might do during the holidays. So I'm just going to jump right in because I want to make sure we have time for questions. So my business is Aeolidia. I am the founder and I call myself captain and founder. I guess I'm the CEO, but we help merchants make a really good e-commerce website. And there's a few different things that go into that. So we do branding, we do brand strategy and brand identity, and we also help businesses brainstorm business names if you're renaming or starting a new business. We build Shopify websites. We set up email marketing automations and flows and campaigns. And then we also help people optimize their e-commerce sites and keep them maintained. So that's what we do. If you have any questions about that, feel free to email me after. And I'm going to jump into just the quickest case study. So just talking about why you might want to optimize your site and not just use a theme out of the Shopify theme store. This is a business that used to be called the Oyster's Pearl. I'm showing you this one because we did a little bit of everything for this business. We helped them rename and we rebuilt their website. So that's the original. And then they're Glad Folk now, and we help them with a site that works quite a bit better. And after we launched this one, we took a look at their stats and their conversion rate had improved 102%, so more than doubled. Revenue per user, which I'll mention again in a minute, had gone up, and their total revenue was more than double what it was before we made these changes. So that's just a little quick sample of what can happen if you make sure you're making your website smart and strategic. So we're going to talk about some numbers to know. I'm going to go through this very quickly because I'm sure most of you know this. But first I want to talk about why you should optimize. So this is just a little bit about conversion rate. So let's imagine you get 10,000 visitors a month, but your conversion rate is 1%. So you're going to have 100 sales every month, but you want 500 sales. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. If you want to drive 5 times as much traffic, you could get 5 times as many sales at that conversion rate. If you want to improve the site and have 5 times the conversion rate, then you don't need new traffic and you can get 5 times the sales. So in both cases, you have 500 sales. But if you manage to do both of those things, let's say you have 5 times the traffic and your site is performing 5 times better, then of course those multiply and you get 25 times the sales. So now you're getting 2,500 sales in a month, which is why we always want to think about both things when we're working on our site. We want to make sure we're getting a lot of traffic and a lot of good traffic. And we want to make sure the site is working well for them. So these are just, as I'm talking, these are the numbers we're going to be talking about. Conversion rate is the percentage of people who visit your site and then make an order. Your average order value is roughly what an average person spends on your site. So it's the total value of your orders divided by the number of orders. And then revenue per user is a good way to see how things are going. So this is your total revenue divided by the total number of visitors to your site. Okay, so that's just the overview so you know what I'm talking about. And we're going to go into a bit about content and tactics now. And again, as I am talking, if you have a question, you should have a little Q&A button there on your Zoom screen, and you can enter that question into the Q&A, and I'm going to answer it when I get to the end of my presentation. If you put it in the chat, I might eventually find it, but if the chat gets busy, sometimes that's harder to see. So I'd appreciate you using the Q&A. Okay, so we're going to talk about just each section of the site, and this is probably things that you're already doing. I'm not going to give you any like mind-blowing new information today, but this is kind of just going to be a sanity check as you head into the holidays that you have things set up correctly, and your site is going to be performing its best. So let's all just double check that we have this basic stuff, and then I will talk to you a bit more about what extras you might want to include. So we're going to hop over and look at the real site here. Because we're going to see a little holiday stuff. So we're just thinking about the header for sugar paper at this moment. So obviously you want your logo, you want your search form, you want a link for people to log into their account, especially during the holidays. People want to track orders and see if something's been shipped, all that kind of information. And then you're going to have your navigation. So one of the special twists that you can think about during the holiday season is you might want some kind of special holiday header design. So I don't know, if your site has some illustrations or something, you might want to make it look a little bit festive, or you might want to think about your offer up here, or maybe there is a change to your navigation. You might want to move gifts to be more prominent. Okay, so that's just a little header info. I was going to show you sugar paper search. So let's go back and look at your search. So you could just have standard search, or you could optimize with a more special search. So you see, I'm starting to type note in here. And what we see is we see some suggestions for what I might be searching for. There's a list of categories that include notes. So I can look at a whole category, not just a product. They have blog pages and things like that that will show up, and then there are specific products. So this kind of search can be super helpful. Searchers convert 5 to 6 times higher than non-searchers. So anybody who starts typing into your search box is probably somebody who's looking for something specific, and they're like feeling very shopping oriented at the moment. So you want to make things really easy and tempting for those people, because those are the people that are ready to buy. And the app that we use to make all this fun stuff come up, this one is called Searchinize. So if you wanted to experiment with adding that to your site, that could be a good thing to try out. Alrighty, so that's search and header stuff. And we're gonna run back here. And then talk about the announcement bar. So on Sugar Paper site, when we start adding products, at first it told us it was going to be $100 to get free shipping. Here, not only do people know what the amount is, they know how much they have left to do, so they can think about what else they might want to add to their cart. So a free shipping offer is very popular because it increases your average order value. If you're not sure what to set this amount to, if you'd like to try it, we tend to go for 25% higher than your current average order value. So to make it simple, if people tend to spend $100 with you, you could let them know for $125 they can get free shipping, and then you're going to boost that average order value because a few people will want to do that, and then you're getting more money from the same amount of traffic to your site. And then for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you might want to use that spot up there for any kind of holiday announcements, anything about shipping. You might have some sales or discounts going on, anything you want to mention specific to the holidays. People are going to notice that announcement bar or look there to see if there's anything they should know. That's one thing about e-commerce sites. Sometimes it feels like you can't be super creative, because you're going to notice as we go through these example sites today, things start looking kind of the same. And that's because most customers have been sort of trained how to use an e-commerce site, often by Amazon or sites like that. So they're expecting certain things in the header. They're looking for the cart on the top right corner. They have ideas about how the navigation's probably going to work. If you deviate too much from that, you can really confuse people and make it harder to shop on your site. So you have to be creative within the constraints of what people are expecting. So Navigation is also part of the header. This is one of the areas my team spends the most time on when we're building a site. So if we're making a custom website for somebody, we have a 1 to 2 hour meeting with our e-commerce strategist and our designer. Our team gets together and we just think of all the different ways that we could organize the categories, and what we might want to do to make it easier for customers. What types of menu to use, we'll get into all of that. So for the holidays, you might want to have that navigation update. It might be time to highlight gifts or calendars or whatever is timely during this season. So I'm going to show you, actually, let's bounce out here and look at a menu. This is the one we were just looking at. So not only do we have the graphics here with the links, but there's a way to get to different categories and sort of see what's going to be happening before you get there. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Navigation is not just the first part of your site. So we have at the very top something we call the utility menu, and I'll show you an example of that. The main navigation is what's going to be right up top under the logo where people are expecting it. Then you're going to have another menu in your footer, and sometimes there will be a little sub-footer menu. And I'll show you some examples. There's also, when we're talking about that header navigation, a few different types. So you might have just links. People click on it and they go where they're going to go. Or you might have a drop down. When you hover over, you're going to see some more categories. Or the mega menu, like the one I just showed you that has room for pictures and some more than just the links. And then deciding which is going to be a good one for you depends on how many categories and types of products that you have. So this is a little mega menu that pops down. It's got a graphic and it's got all the links. One thing to think about when you're planning your navigation is you don't want too many links across the top. So our kind of rule of thumb, and rules get broken sometimes, but our rule of thumb is you shouldn't have more than 8 links in this main menu, because then your customer's decision fatigue begins to set in and it feels overwhelming and they might not know what to do. So try, even if you sell a lot of things, try to pare it down to 8 or fewer main categories so people can get themselves oriented. Here's that Sister Golden menu again. You will notice that they're not linking to anything in the header that's not on their site. So some themes from the theme store will have maybe your social media links up top, and we recommend that you do not send people off to the most distracting sites on the internet. Maybe save that for your footer once they've gotten to know you. And here's just a simple drop down. Same as we've been talking about for the other menus, but I wanted to show you this one because this has what we call the utility menu up top. So in the yellow bar, you'll see there's their wholesale link, about, contact, gift cards. That's a way to have some more helpful information there without cluttering up your shop categories. So really across the top for an e-commerce site, we want the main menu to be shop categories. And then if you have room, your about page, because a lot of you are artists or designers and people have a reason to care what your business is about. That helps them trust you and be interested in what you do. And then having that contact link up top is another nice reassuring thing where if they have a question or a problem, they're going to be able to find you and get some help. And here we have a footer menu. So a couple things I see on footers, sometimes there won't really even be a menu, or sometimes the footer will just look like a junk drawer of every possible link. So we recommend that you organize your footer nicely, because maybe people have taken in all the information and now they want to decide what to do. So having categories here, like this one has got a shop category and then customer care and then the about us section. It's great to repeat all those top level links in the footer in addition to your info links, because you want people to shop. That's the main thing you want them to do. So having the shop links down in the footer again is a great way to get them back on track. And then it's good to have anything that might help them with a purchase, like customer care kind of stuff. If they have questions about returns or if you have an FAQ about the products, it's really helpful to get that down in the footer because that's where people will be looking for that. So any questions about navigation or header or footer, please pop those in the Q&A and we will cover them. And now we're going to do the home page. So I'm going to switch over to the live site here. So we've been looking at Sister Golden, and everything we're looking at here is a site that my team at Aeolidia has designed. You'll notice for the holidays, they've got the gift section available. They have a 2025 calendar. Obviously, this is the time of year when we're going to start selling those, and they're making sure you realize that the calendar can be a gift. This is going to be their main gift of the season. And when you come down, they've picked out all their holiday cards here. So instead of showing what they show every year, they are going to show their holiday stuff. And then here's some things that might work as gifts. And then you can go through their homepage and look at all these other options. And you'll see that if you haven't started shopping now, you're still learning more about what they do and why you're interested. We've got this mother-daughter duo information, lots of little graphics and things to break up the text and help your attention stay focused. If you have big blocks of text, that can be a little hard for people to pay attention to. They describe a bit how they do things. And then they haven't forgotten it's Halloween. So we do have some holiday Christmas type stuff up, but then we've got our Halloween still here. They've got a video and some social proof here. The Today Show is pretty impressive, and we've got a book. So this looks like a really legitimate site where we feel reassured that not only is this something that other people buy and love, but we can trust these people to send the product and that we're going to enjoy it once we get it. So they've got lots of reassurances here and lots of things to make you feel like, oh, maybe I'm missing out. All these other people are into it. You see they've got a shop, and then we can take a peek at their Instagram if we're into that. And then we have a very nice organized footer with everything we need to know to feel reassured that this purchase is going to go well for us. So there's lots of things you can do with your homepage. Remember that not everybody is even going to see your homepage. Like for instance, if your search engine optimization is going really well, people might search for your product and go straight to your product, or they might end up on a collection page. But this is still a nice sort of front door to let people come in and be aware of everything that you do. And then you can take little bits from the homepage and sprinkle them through the rest of your site. Like maybe we show that video again somewhere. The About page is going to have a bunch of this information. So it's also fine to repeat things. So we're going to look at your collections page next, just to give you an overview. And again, homepage, collections page questions. We will do more specific talk when we get to the Q&A. But in general, on your collections page, let's see, we're gonna show another live site. So this is one that we launched very recently. This is E. Francis Paper. This is not their homepage. This is a collection page. So Shopify calls your product categories collections. So category collection is the same thing. Little Notes is one of their special products that it's a bestseller. It's unique to them. They wanted to set up a special collection page so people can really explore Little Notes. So this has been a fun page that we built. It's got a nice collection description, and you're going to want this for every collection on your site because it's really good for SEO and getting Google to find you. So if you do nothing else for your collection pages, write a nice description for each one and make it include some of the wording that people who are looking for these will use when they're searching for this type of thing. So we have some little icons to give people ideas of how to use them. We have these hot spots here that when you click them, it'll pop up what it is and you can go shop the product. Then you can start scrolling through and looking at the products. Make sure you've got pricing available so people don't have to hunt or hover to find it. It's good to show product review stars here because especially the more reviews you can get, the more people will start feeling like they're missing out on something awesome. This page has like little call outs to show some special products in this category. So this is a wallet that you can put your little notes in, and we wanted people to notice that and not just have it be another square on the page. And then we've got some content that they've gotten from their Instagram, which shows their customers using their little notes. So that's another fun little thing to mention, and help people get into the idea of little notes. So you'll notice, here's another fun one. We've got reviews here for this product. And then the whole way we can always hop back to the top with this cute little balloon. So things to consider for your collection page. I'm going to drift back up top. It's great to have product reviews. So once you have those collection descriptions, the next thing I would strongly recommend is you have product reviews. If you're just starting out, it can be hard to get enough reviews. You don't want to show a bunch of products that have no reviews or one review, because it feels like people aren't buying a lot. So one thing you can do, and eFrancis did not choose to do this. They have reviews for each one, but what you could do with your reviews app is consolidate reviews for a certain product. So every review for any little note could be gathered up. So maybe every one of these will have 32 5-star reviews because it's for the product. So that's one way you can do it. And another thing you can do is you can start gathering reviews and just not make them visible on the site until you feel like you have enough to make that look impressive. Sometimes you're going to want to sort and filter. These are all just notes, so it does not look like we have that on this one, but sometimes you're going to want to let people sort by price or filter by a certain color, especially if you have, I don't know, if you sell yarn or something and there's hundreds of products on this page, maybe I just want to look at the red yarns. So think about what could make things easier for people so they don't have to page through just like hundreds of things they're not looking for. Sometimes products will have color swatches. So if we were looking at clothing or something like that, or jewelry, we might see a few little squares here to show what colors they came in. And then, so let's think about the holidays. As you can see, we've got a holiday photo here, which is like one simple thing you can do is just make sure the photos you happen to be featuring are showing more of your holiday collections and featuring that kind of thing up top if you have anything like that. So special design for those pages. It can be a great idea to set up and upsell bundles of products or kits, because sometimes people are looking for like a gifting craft activity sort of thing or something like that. This time of year might be a good time for volume discounts. So if people buy more, they can save more. That can be good for people who maybe come up with one gift they're going to give their whole family, right? And if they buy 10 of them or something, you're going to give them a bit of a discount. And you might want to build a gift guide page, something kind of more editorial. So you could have a page on your site that you promote or advertise or share on social media, which is just your gift guide of the things that make the best gifts from your collections. So lots of ideas there for making things a little more holiday-ish. So now we're going to look at a product page. We're going to take a peek at Hello Adorn's Tiny Twist earrings. So let's go peek at those. This is one of their best-selling products, and we did quite a bit on this page to make it easy to shop and tempting to shop. So you can see they've got tons of reviews for this product, and they're very well reviewed. Looks like 4.5 stars at least. We've got the little review summary thing here. When you've got that many reviews, that can certainly make sense to do. We've got installment payments. So if people are purchasing and it seems like a bit of a stretch with their budget, they can break it into 4 interest-free installments, and that's a shop pay feature. You can choose a different style here and it'll change the photo so you can take a look at it. You can choose a different metal type and size. People do not always read when they're shopping, so it's nice to have little icons and things to call their attention. And you'll notice that as you're about to click add to bag and you're feeling maybe a little hesitant, you're like, oh, ready to ship, I'm going to get this right away, and it'll be easy to return if I don't like it. So you're reassured right here when you're making that decision. And then one thing we recommend is, rather than showing other products that are similar and the person might change their mind and switch to it, we want to show products that go with it so people will add more to their cart, not get stuck trying to make a decision. So this here, instead of you may also like, this is complete the look, and these are products that they feel go well with these earrings. And then you can add all these things to your bag if you like. And then we've got some text here, which is great for SEO and also great for people who want to know a bit more before they decide to purchase. They've called out the most important things here in this different color, so people might at least take a look at that. It feels a little bit more like an alert, so you know you want to take a look. And again, we've got some nice icons here. And then sometimes there's a lot more information that you want to show, but you know most people won't read, and you don't want to make your page 10 miles long. So you can put in these little accordions here to show people any extra stuff they might want to figure out. And then here we've got these are the similar products I was just talking about. So once you've gotten down here, you can find other ones like that because they know that you're interested in that. And then we've got the reviews. And since they have so many reviews, it makes sense to divide these into topics and be able to just look at what you're looking for. And they are also letting customers put photos on the reviews. And then we've got their Instagram. Here's a more general you might also like, and then we're down to the footer. So when you're thinking about yours, let's scoot back to the top. When you're thinking about your product pages, you want to think about your photos and videos. You want to make sure that you show any information people might need. Again, a lot of times people don't read, so they will learn things from the photos as they scroll through them. You might want to show a video here, depending on what your product is. It's great to show the scale of something so we can see how big it is. So when this is just here on the leaf, I don't know if those are huge or tiny, but if I hop over here to the ear, I can see exactly what size they're going to be. So you might want to show some lifestyle photos, something where people can understand where it's going to be used. When you're writing your descriptions, you don't want to talk, so you want people to know what the features are, but you want to talk about them as if they're a benefit. So people don't really care what size it is or what metal it is. They care what that's going to do for them. So whenever you're writing, just think about what is the value about this feature of your product and explain why your customer might care. And so what might we change for Black Friday? You might want to add the option to have things gift wrapped. And sometimes you can do that on the product page, or sometimes you'll do that over in the cart or checkout. And this might also be a good time of year to create, instead of just a straightforward product page, make a more editorial landing page, something that you could advertise online or feature in your blog or something like that. Something that's just talks about the product a bit more and is, kind of like if you had a retail shop and you were going to talk about that product, how would you talk to people about it? You might want to set up a special landing page. Okay, so we looked at that page, and I'm gonna go through cart and checkout. Again, I hope you're dropping me some questions in the Q&A. We are gonna take a look at Little Apple Treats. So they sell vinegar and apple and vinegar related products. And I wanted to show what we have done for the checkout process here. So we're going to add this apple cider vinegar to our cart. Actually, we're going to take a look at it first, just to show that we've got some reviews here. We can just buy the vinegar, or we can do a subscribe and save. And it can be great to get subscriptions because then you've got that recurring revenue and people don't have to remember to come back. That's another one that could be fun during the holidays. Maybe, like when you think of the Fruit of the Month Club or something like that, it's the gift that keeps on giving every month. Or instead of having that one-time customer, you might end up having somebody subscribing, so purchasing from you over and over again. Again, we've got installment payments here. This shop lets you do pickup, or you can have it shipped to you. So I'm going to add this to my cart, and you will see what we call this drawer cart pop out over here. So instead of moving you to a separate cart page, we have this one slide in from the side. And this cart has a lot of different features in it. So they're offering free shipping on orders over 200. They show you how much you have left with this little status bar, so you know how much more you need to order to get free shipping. This is in our cart, but we still have the choice now to upgrade it to a subscription, and they let you know you're going to save 10%. So you have a reason to want to do that. Here's that gift note we were talking about. So you can click here and you can add your gift note. And while we're in the cart, instead of having to go back to the shop and keep shopping, we're recommending some products they can just add directly to their cart right here. So I click that and that's now in my cart, and I can also upgrade that to a subscription, and I can see that my free shipping, like I'm getting closer to that. You'll notice here that we've got the regular checkout button and then we have Shop Pay. So if you use Shop Pay, one thing to know, and so this isn't happening here, it's only happening in the cart. If you have that Shop Pay button over here on your product page, people will immediately start checking out and they won't be able to continue shopping. And that can make sense if just depending on what kind of product you have. But if you have the sort of products where you want people to fill up a cart with multiple things, it's good to not have them go straight to checkout from here, but instead add to cart and be able to keep shopping. So that is the little drawer cart. A couple things to think about here. So some other things that aren't showing here that you might want to add is you can set up your cart to do maybe like a free gift with purchase sort of thing. Or if you've gotten to a certain amount, you get a free gift, and then sometimes you can choose that gift in the cart. We saw the in-cart upsells. There's also a way in Shopify to do a post-purchase offer. So after somebody checks out and the order's totally complete and it's getting ready to ship to their house, that next screen can say, you might also want to buy, and it can have more that you can add straight to that order without going through checkout again. So that's something you might want to look into for increasing average order value. All right, so just quickly talking about traffic and conversion. So these are some examples. I just pulled up some of our longtime client stats to see where they get traffic from. And this is just percentages. I'm going to show you a couple of these just because you shouldn't have all of your eggs in one basket, right? You shouldn't be getting all your traffic from one place, because if that stops working for you, you haven't built up those other channels and it's going to be hard to get back where you used to be. So these are some examples of how some of our most successful clients' traffic sources are divided up. So you'll see email is really strong on the one on the left. So that is customers that already know them and they just continue to get emails about it. Search is a pretty good chunk. And direct traffic is people just showing up at your site, or it just can't be attributed. And then we've got some referral traffic. The one on the right is a little bit different because there is a lot more SMS here, which is text messaging. So that's a big part of their strategy for getting back in touch with customers and interested customers. And then the pink slice on the second one is paid social media advertising. And here's just two more to show you, just so you can see there isn't a right or wrong way to drive traffic. It's just nice to have it coming from multiple places. So the site on the left gets a lot of organic search traffic, which means they haven't paid for it. Their SEO is just working well and Google is sending people that way. And they do quite a bit of email. The one on the right is doing a bunch of paid search. So when you're searching for what they're selling, they have paid for advertising to have a spot there in Google. And they're also doing pretty well with their organic search as part of that. And then lots of email. So it's good to just take a look at where your traffic's coming from and make sure you're not relying too heavily on one thing. But it's also good to spend time and money on stuff that you know works. So just as long as you know where it's coming from and you have a strategy, I'd say you're doing well. So we have been talking about balancing getting good traffic versus having a good site. Obviously, you need both, but you cannot always budget for both, either financially or just with your time, right? You only have so many people working with you and only so much that you can do in a day. So our general guideline is if you're getting less than 1,000 visitors to your site each month, it's too early to be optimizing your site. Like if it's terrible, you might want to quickly make it better, but in general, it's more important to drive traffic at that point. If you're getting between 1,000 and 2,000 visits per month, this is a good time for you to start looking at your site and figuring out what might work better and experimenting with some things. And then once you're getting over 2,000 visits a month, and even more than that, that's when it makes sense to have professionals really look at optimizing your site, because we can be working on conversion rates, we can be working on average order value, revenue per user, we can do A/B testing, heat mapping, we can watch videos of how your customers use the site, and we can really optimize specific to you and your customers. And then once the site's working really well, if you're getting 5 or 10 or 20 or 50,000 visitors per month, you'll get a really good return from the traffic that you drive. So that's the point when it makes sense to focus on both of these things at once. And I always like to say a website is never done. It can always perform better. So that is the end of the presentation part of this, and we're going to jump into Q&A, but I wanted to give you a special offer. If you would like to win a free website review, I will come in and take a look at your site and go through all the stuff that we just talked about now, and I will write up a written report. This usually takes me about 45 minutes. It'll be specific to your site and what you can do to improve it. I do one of these each month, so I'll have one winner that gets the whole report, but usually I'm able to get back to most people with at least an email with a list of the top few things that I would recommend you do, or some resources. So you're always going to get something. So you can go to aeolidia.com/win, or you can scan this QR code. And this page is not linked anywhere on our site. This is just a sort of secret offer that I do when I'm doing a webinar. So let's see, is it still October? Is it November? Depending on when you submit, I look at the end of each month. So I think it's going to be end of November. At the end of this month, I will take a look through the entries that I've gotten and choose a winner and get back to you. So I will also, I'll try to remember to send that out in the email with the replay link, so you can look at that there too. Okay, and here is how to get in touch with me. So you can head to our website. You can always email me at ariane@aeolidia.com, and you'll get an email from me after this with some resources and help. And you can reply to that anytime you like. And we are Aeolidia everywhere on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. Okay, so that is the end of the showing part. And now I would love to do Q&A with you. So I'm going to pull that menu up and see what questions we have. Okay. Myrna is asking about the footer menu. Do you recommend having a newsletter sign up there if you have a pop-up for your newsletter too? Oh my gosh, I did not talk about newsletters. I think it's because the last webinar we did was all about newsletters. So I thought we were going to do something different, but I always want to talk about newsletters. So thank you very much for asking that, Myrna. We want you to have a newsletter sign up in your footer, definitely, because people will close the pop-up. And if you just feature it on your homepage, they're not necessarily going to come in that way and they won't see it. So having the newsletter sign up in your footer is super smart because it will be on every page. And you asked about pairing it with a pop-up. We like to recommend that whatever your pop-up says, if it says 10% off or get a free download or free gift with purchase or whatever, we want to see that same wording in your footer with your newsletter subscribed. So as a customer, I don't close it and then feel like I've missed out on that offer. We want to make sure people can continue seeing that even if they closed your pop-up. Okay, Kelly asks, is the banner the same as the utility menu? So when I was sharing my screen, we saw that there was that thin strip that was an announcement bar at the top. And then we did look at one utility menu that was in that same strip. So they had their menu on the left and their announcement on the right. It's also fine to have the announcement bar just be the announcement and be centered, and then your utility menu can be a little menu below that. So there's not a right or wrong there. It's just good to make sure you have things separated up so people can easily understand. Carrie asks, what Shopify app do you like for a bundle yourself or buy more and save type of marketing? I do not know. I'm not the one that picks the apps. So we do have a database of apps that we like. So I am going to save this question and send the answer out in my follow-up email that you'll all get. Thank you, Carrie. Kelly says we have options for searching yarn from the collections menu. Would having a lot of options of how to search be advantageous, or is there a concern with people ending up with decision fatigue from all the information? This is the kind of question that I don't know the answer to without knowing more about your shop and your business and taking a look. So when I said that we have those 1 to 2 hour navigation meetings, these are the kind of questions that we try to answer there. And sometimes we can do our best guess, but then later we're going to come in and look at how customers are actually using that menu and see if we want to make any changes there. So this is a great question to get some help with while you're hiring somebody to work on your site. How do you take off the shop pay from the product page? I'm not sure the answer to that. So that is something you can ask Shopify support about, or I can see if I can find the answer. Sometimes that's the sort of thing where it's just an option in the admin, like something you switch on and off. And sometimes it's the sort of thing where you need a developer to work on the code for you. So I'm not sure about that one, Lindsay. Donald says, for the you might also like items in the checkout area, I think you can click on the items to learn more. Is that correct and purposeful? Yeah. So most people are not going to just quickly add something to cart if they hadn't learned about it. So you saw on a bunch of those product pages we were looking at, there would be descriptions and what it was made of and reviews, all that kind of thing. Usually people are going to want to shop a little bit and not just quickly add things to cart. But then there are cases where they might just be able to quickly add things to cart. So when we were looking at the apple cider vinegars, if I'm already buying a vinegar or a shrub or something like that, and I see there's another flavor, it's pretty easy for me to click add to cart there without having to go learn everything about it all over again. So it's going to depend on what products you sell and where people are in the process of learning about and buying your products. Erwin asks if we could recommend a Shopify app for customer reviews. I think the one that we use most often, and none of them are perfect. They all have their kind of pros and cons. I think Judge Me is the one that we're currently using most often right now. So that's a good one to try and get started with. It's somewhat more reasonably priced than the other ones, and it does all the stuff you need it to do. Monica asks how you check your monthly traffic. Lots of ways to do this. So if you're using Shopify or any other website provider, when you're in your admin, there should be a stats page, and that'll be the very quickest way. And you might have other tools installed, such as Google Analytics or something like that. But definitely, if you have a stats or reports page for your website, that's going to be where you can most easily get that information. Somebody's asking if there's going to be a replay. Yes, there will. I will be emailing that out as soon as I can get all the info together that I want to send you as far as resources. So that'll be coming to your email. Christy says we have a Shopify template, but we're uncertain if we should get a new one. How do you know when it's time to make a change? Ooh, I feel like I might even have a blog post about this on our site. This again is going to be unique and individual to each business, but there's one big way to know, which is a few years ago, was it 2021? 2022? Shopify came out with a whole new framework for building sites, and it's called Online Store 2.0. If your website is older than 2 or 3 years old, you are now on what Shopify calls a vintage theme. That's what they're calling it. And it's just not going to be, it's not going to load as quickly as the current themes do, and it's not going to be as flexible. And then there are a lot of apps that have stopped working with the vintage themes or are going to stop working with vintage themes because the way apps work with Shopify now is totally different. And then aside from that, if it just feels slow or clunky or out of date. Again, with the apps, it used to be on Shopify, if you installed an app and then uninstalled an app, it would leave a bunch of code on your site. And then that would make your site very bloated and slow and not perform very well. So just the longer you had a theme, the clunkier it was going to get. So again, if it's more than a few years old, it's probably time for a change. Um, and then just thinking about, is the site still working for me? Is it still on brand? Is it presenting my shop in a way that is reflective of how my shop is now? Because sometimes your business has grown and it's like more professional, or it's just different, and then your site is not really helping you put your best foot forward. It feels like maybe amateur, or maybe you've grown past it. So there's lots of different ways to think about that. I hope that's helpful. It's also fine if anybody wants me to take a look at their site, filling out that form at aeolidia.com/win and getting the review would be a great way to do it. Or you can also email me back to ask a question, and I can look at your specific template and let you know what I think. Ona says, lately I've had more wholesale to brick and mortar shops. How do you combine the two to gather more info? I would prefer clients to come to me directly. Ona, I think you're asking about selling wholesale on your website. And with Shopify, we have 6 different ways that we do it. We have a blog post about that I'll see about sending out in that replay email. There's lots of different ways you can sell wholesale on Shopify, from using apps to making a copy of your site. I'll send that info over to you. And then it's just about making sure your wholesalers know where to go and what to do, and kind of educating them if they've been doing something different. Robin is asking if we have specific strategies for shops with a small number of products. That is obviously going to be different than when you have like a huge list of a dozen categories and hundreds of SKUs and everything. So I would think you'd want to do something where you're just really featuring the few most important products that you have. And sometimes people have a shop with one product, and then you can really work hard on the collection page or the product page or wherever it makes sense to point people. And then this is actually in some ways easier than having lots of products, because you can be really specific and targeted and direct with where you're pointing people and what you're saying about your product. Again, I'd have to know what it was and take a look at it to offer you specific advice, but hopefully that's a good starting way to think about that. Jess, I was talking about videos being a good option. She asks, or he or she asks, what is our opinion on custom interactive features, buttons, and graphics? Is that distracting or engaging? One of those sites that I was showing you, the E. Francis paper one with the little notes, when you click add to cart, it like throws a little confetti across the screen. So that's fun to do. In that case, we didn't feel it was distracting because you've done the important thing. You've added the product to your cart, and it might be fun enough to make you want to add another product to your cart. So I would just think about what kind of thing you're showing. Is it there for a purpose, or just because it was a fun thing you figured out how to do? Is it helping customers or distracting them? You can kind of take a look at that. And then for all the things we're talking about, there are ways, instead of just guessing, to find out how things are working. So for a more established brand with more resources, you can pay to have somebody run user tests for you and talk to your actual users. You also can use heat mapping type software that shows where people are looking and where they're clicking. You can watch videos of people using your site, and you can look directly for what they call a rage click, where the person's going clickety, clickety, clickety on one thing and it's not working the way they want. Or if they're hitting the back button a lot, you can go look and see where people are getting frustrated and having trouble. If you don't have the resources to do all that fancy kind of stuff, you can just get a couple people you know and ask them to sit down with you and go through your site and pretend they're shopping for something specific for somebody, and just ask them to talk out loud about what they're clicking and what they're doing and how they feel about it. And you might find out where they're getting distracted or annoyed just by doing your own little user testing. It's sometimes nice, or always nice, to have somebody take a look at your site. So The problem is with us, like we know our business very well and we know what we're trying to say and we know where we're trying to point people. So it all makes sense to us when we look at it. But having somebody else with fresh eyes look at it and tell you about it can be very revealing. Um, okay, Donald, big question, all in caps. I'm taking a look at this. Okay, so on Donald's Shopify Dawn site, Shopify suggested using AI for descriptions, so I did use it, but my site is 6 months old and is not indexed by Google. A Google executive said it was because I used AI. What? Okay. Have I encountered this problem? I personally have not heard of this, but I'm very interested to take that to Kai on our team who does SEO and ask him what he thinks about that. I have not heard of this problem. A couple things to know about SEO. One is that SEO is not a quick thing. So sometimes you'll do everything you need to do for SEO and you'll do it perfectly. There's actually no such thing as perfect, but let's pretend. Let's pretend you've done it perfectly. Sometimes it might still take Google a year to figure out that you're who they should be linking to. It's just sort of a slow thing. So you can't make a change and be like, hey, this is working or hey, it's not working. You just have to do all that foundational stuff and do your best to do it correctly. And then eventually the enormous cruise ship that is Google will like turn around and notice that you're there. So that's going to be slow, but it's really good to do. So I think at Aeolidia, half our traffic comes from Google, and that traffic at this point is free. Like we don't have to hustle or scramble to try and get that traffic anymore. It's just because we have the domain authority and we have all the blog posts on our site, and that traffic, unless some huge algorithm shift happens or whatever, that traffic just kind of keeps coming to us for no work on our part. So it's nice to get search engine traffic, but it's also not reliable and it's not quick. And then Donald, I'm going to take your big question to Kai and see if I can get back to you about that over email. Christy, there are a couple of small businesses getting sued for not having alt text on pictures. We have over 400 products. How do you recommend doing that quickly and efficiently? There's a couple things about this. I could go on all day about these accessibility lawsuits, but I won't. But I will say that you should be very careful that you are trying your best to make sure your site is accessible, and you should have some sort of process for documenting what you're doing to keep it accessible. And the alt text is one very small part of these accessibility lawsuits. There's a whole bunch of things. It's about the color contrast on your text and your background or your buttons. It's about the size of the text. It's about having the navigation work for somebody using a screen reader, somebody using a special tool if they cannot see well. There's hundreds of parts of it. It's huge and complicated, and this is something that we do help people with, either to like abate the problem if you have been given a lawsuit or threatened with one, or to just be proactive and try to avoid those. So adding the alt text quickly and efficiently, this is not my wheelhouse. I could probably get a better answer from my team, but I believe you can export your products onto a spreadsheet and then write in all the alt text in the proper field and then import them again is probably going to be the fastest way to do that. And one app that we use sometimes for importing and exporting product content is called Matrixify, like the Matrix with IFY at the end. That's something that you could look into. Okay, I think I've made it through the questions, but I'm gonna peek at the chat real quick. And if we've got like 5 minutes here, if there's something I haven't answered or talked about that you would like an answer to, please pop it into the Q&A. And if anybody wants to raise their hand and say some words out loud and I can answer that question, we can do that too. But otherwise, I think we've done it. Uh, I noticed that Jamie in the chat saying that we're way behind the times and need to update. I will say that if you suspect your site might be out of date, it almost certainly is out of date. If your site's not out of date, you'll know that it is current and modern and it's working well. So if you're wondering, probably good to look at it. Okay, I'm peeking at the Q&A one more time, and then we're going to put this video on YouTube, I believe, and we will send out a replay link. And any question I could not answer thoroughly here, I will try and pop my answer into the replay email. And everybody is free at any time to email me and ask a question because I love helping out. And I see one from Donald. So Donald says, do you sometimes help folks design sites with free themes like Dawn? So Dawn is this theme that Shopify built when they switched to Online Store 2.0, and that is like a really nice, basic, modern, fast theme that's good and we'd recommend. I don't know if that one is super full featured, but it's one that we work with and it's a good one, and we would love to help you out with that. So if anybody would like some help with their site, we don't always start from scratch when we work with you. We will sometimes take what you have and look at your stats and see how customers are using it and find ways to optimize the site that you have and improve it over time. Okay, so thanks so much for coming. Thank you for your wonderful questions. I'm going to take some time to look over all those questions again and get a good email out to you that has helpful info in it. And I know there is not a ton of time before the holiday season, but at the very least, like, this is all a learning process, and you can take a look at what worked this year and what could have worked better. And you can start early next year getting yourselves ready for the next holiday season, because we always get another chance, don't we? Lolly, yes, I'm going to be sharing the recording. Okay, so thanks so much for attending, and get in touch if I can help out with anything. Thanks, everyone. Bye.